Welcome to the channel, ladies and gentlemen. Slasher Movie Club time. Coriander, and yeah,
Hey.
we got one for tonight. We've
Ugh.
got one for tonight. So
Yeah.
we're gonna be talking about 1981's "Don't Go in the Woods Alone,"
Mm.
and let's see who we have in the chat and get caught up with those guys. We got Eric. Eric's in the chat saying, "Don't go in the woods alone. Don't watch this movie alone or with a group of people."
Right? Oh my God.
Hey, and you know what's funny? And I'm gonna throw this out. I mean, I guess it's a shameless plug, but Eric and Frenzy did an episode. I could not believe this for Two Bearded Losers podcast channel. Check them out if you guys haven't checked them out. For anyone that's watching this or on the replay, they did an episode on "Don't Go in the Woods." I
Oh
think I
no.
think it was last week, Eric, and I saw it. I'm like, how the hell did that happen? Because we had this planned out to. I think we were going to do
Sure.
this last week, but we skipped it, right?
Well, the previous one we did before this, it got skipped. We didn't
Yeah,
do
it
it.
got
So it
skipped.
kind of
Yeah,
pushed this one. Yeah.
right.
Ugh.
And what I mean, look, and this movie is rough, but I could not believe that they were talking
It
about the same,
sucked. Yeah.
crappy.
That's funny shit, man.
We're gonna get into this.
And
This
I mean,
movie is bad.
we this list was created like, oh my God, like how many weeks ago? How many? Like 7 weeks ago. So yeah,
Well,
that's
what's
crazy
interesting
shit.
too, yeah, it is funny how that lined up, but that's actually kind of cool. But we've been using that teenage slasher movie handbook kind of as our
Yeah.
roadmap through all these slashers, and it's just funny how they have them listed. They're not all in order because we've done a lot of movies from 81, but we also did some movies from 80 and also before that. So it's just
Yeah.
interesting. Patrick saying once again, hello, Night, Coriander, Killian, and
Hey.
Jerry. What's going on? Eric saying, "Yep, if you've seen our latest upload, you'll know we weren't too kind to this. Love the timing with that and this. Definitely a movie to watch, if only to make fun of. Alcohol may help the situation."
See, I'm not a drinker,
Right,
so it was
right.
terrible. It's terrible.
Patrick saying, a good retrospect look at The Edge. Yes, I mean, that was great. For you guys that didn't see our earlier episode tonight, we reviewed The Edge from 1997 with the great Anthony Hopkins and Alec Baldwin. Fun time to
Yeah.
talk about it. Check it out if you didn't get a
Yeah.
chance.
Great movie.
Yes, absolutely. And
That is a
Patrick
good movie to
Slasher
talk
Monday.
about. I'd rather talk
Right.
about that again, please.
Well, it's funny. The last couple of days we've been doing double duty, and yesterday I think it was Eric to make was kind of poking fun because we talked about Rambo: Last Blood, which was such a great movie but very violent, and then we talked about The Human Centipede, which is such a
Right.
controversial and gross movie. So
Yeah.
and
Great.
today a great movie, and this one not so great. So but I think it's
Yeah.
good though because we're definitely trying to have some good variety, and I think it's good. Hopefully, our viewers will think so too. We got Jake in the chat too. What's up, man? Saying, hey, all. To say, all I have to say about Don't Go in the Woods, WTF. I couldn't believe I watched that movie sober.
Uh, yeah, man.
Patrick saying, is Busta in this one? Busta would have made it
No.
better. At,
Right?
at,
I
at,
think I agree on that one.
at least it would have been some
Oh my
charismatic
God.
moments. Let's start
Yeah.
this thing off, man. This movie starts
Uh,
off, and you've got this lady who's running away from something. We don't know what it is yet,
yeah.
and she's falling down in this brook where this water is, and this and that. And I will give credit, man, because people start getting killed pretty quick. There's like, two or three people right in the beginning of the movie before you know anything that's going on, they get killed. So I will give it credit because I
Yeah.
was like, wow, this is starting off quick. And then, of course, we're introduced to the main four of the story. We've got Joni, Craig,
And these
Ingrid,
people, I mean,
and
yeah, these
yeah.
women, they're annoying. I mean, their voices, I mean, every time I heard them talk, it's like, oh my God, man. This is just so bad. The acting sucked. The gore was crude. I mean, and the music was like the worst ripoff of Last House on the Left. Yeah, it was just fucking terrible. It was terrible.
Well, here's my question, and now we're gonna get into some fun facts as well. And obviously, this movie did not hit home for us too well, so we get that. But what do you think of the setup of the story? Because you've got these four friends, they're basically hiking in the woods
Yeah.
alone. You get it? You
Yeah.
know, and you've got one of them that's I think it's Craig. He's pretty much kind of like the leader, the guy, you know, he knows
The guy
everything
who
about the
knows what he's
woods.
doing, right?
Right, right. And here you have pretty much, you know, the final girl, Ingrid, and Peter. Now, so what did you think of the setup?
I mean, it was okay. You know, a group
Hmm.
of friends going camping, having a good time out in the woods. You
Right,
think you're gonna have some innocent fun and who
right.
knows what else.
Hmm.
And yeah, obviously it goes terribly wrong. So yeah.
Yeah, it does. I mean, here's my problem. Okay, you had a couple deaths early in the movie. Okay, fine. You know, they weren't anything, you know, too great, but that's okay. This is a very low
Mhm,
budget film. I can deal with that. But
mhm.
you introduced these four characters, and they weren't really given anything to differentiate themselves between each other,
Yeah.
other than Craig being the know-it-all on this camping trip.
With his pink
And
shirt. Yeah.
well, that no, that was Peter though, wasn't it? Yeah, that was Peter.
Was it? I thought it was
Yeah.
Craig.
But either way, but the point being is, and for Joni and Ingrid, there wasn't too much to differentiate them to make you invested in what they were doing, especially, you know, as you got into the third act and they were obviously trying to survive. That's one of the problems I had with this. You know, how did you think that the characters were to you?
I mean, they didn't they sucked. I didn't feel or care
Hmm.
about any of these people, you know?
Hmm. Yeah, yeah.
So I don't know what to say. It was, it was painful to watch.
Okay. Eric saying, "Oh, I watched it sober. Watched it for free on YouTube and felt ripped off." I hear you, man.
Yeah.
He says Busta is replaced with Grizzly Adams in this. Slasher
Yeah.
Fred's in the chat saying there seems to be a lot of horror movies that have the word "don't" in the title. If you watch that movie Grindhouse, one of the fake trailers in the movie is for a fake movie called "Don't." Yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely. Um, Patrick saying, "Nice. Did Bark made a guest spot as well?" I wish. I wish.
Right? That would have made it a lot
Uh,
better.
yeah, if only.
Yeah.
But yeah, you know, the characters didn't have a lot that was going on with them, and the reason I wanted to talk about that and kind of get your thought on it is because in comparison to a movie that we just talked about a few weeks ago on Slasher Movie Club, um, just before dawn, those
Yeah.
characters did stand out. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And there
Yeah.
was some character arcs, you know, that were being
Yes.
shown throughout the movie. That's number one.
Yeah.
And number two, even the twins, you know, spoiler alert for that movie, but even the
Yeah.
twins who were basically the killers in the movie, even
Yeah.
though they didn't talk, just like with the maniac in this film, that's what he's billed as, the maniac
Mm.
in Just Before Dawn, the killers actually had a little bit of backstory to give you something to think about. Being, you know, they come from a family that lived in the woods that, you know, basically was
Yep.
trying to keep them as a deep dark secret.
Inbreds,
And
wasn't it?
yes, yeah, and so at least you're getting something to kind of characterize those killers. In this
Right.
movie, you don't get anything, and I'm not saying that you always have to have a reason or explanation and stuff like that. But it's just like this guy's running around the woods, he's killing people, sometimes not in the most believable way. And it's kind of like
Yeah.
I don't feel anything for it. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
It didn't grab me or
Like
anything.
even the kills, yeah, like I said, even the kills, like usually with the second movie, sometimes the
Hmm.
kills are like, yeah, at least I can enjoy that. But even
Right.
these kills were lame and yeah, it was just terrible. There was nothing enjoyable but seeing the beautiful woods and, a lake and was there birds? Maybe,
Yeah. Well,
at this point killing.
and that's exactly where I was going to go with it too. Is that the scenery in the movie was pretty good. It wasn't as good as Just Before Dawn, as far as
Yeah.
scenery and the way that it was
Right.
shot and the cinematography. But hey, you're out in the wilderness and the wild. That can always be interesting, at least for me as a viewer.
Mm.
But it wasn't shot in a way that captivated me as much as something like Just Before
No.
Dawn or other movies of that ilk that take place in the woods. The
Mm-hmm.
bigger issue was the music was so grating, when he was stalking a victim, and you had this. I
Yes.
wish I could play it, but it's so damn annoying. I don't even
It
want to
was
do that to our viewers.
terrible. It was
But it
terrible.
was like that dum 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 dum, and it was so
It was
grating,
bad.
and it takes you out. You
Yeah, and
know.
the fucking sheriff, the sheriff reminded me of like the sheriff from Porky's, but stupider, and it was fucking ridiculous. I mean, yeah, this whole movie was just so bad. Can we stop talking about it now? Do we have to
No.
continue? Oh
Yeah,
shit.
we got to finish the episode real quick. In the chat, Eric was saying the maniac is literally just a homeless mountain man. There's no connection, positive or negative, to him. Yeah, right.
Yeah.
Exactly. Jake saying, "I wonder how Chachi feels about Joni loving Peter." Right.
Let's talk
But
about that. Can we?
but you, and then you have that scene where, and again, there's no, like, man, you gotta have. And look, I've seen a lot of low budget movies and a lot of low budget horror movies. I've seen fan films. I've seen, and you've got to have some type of narrative that's kind of guiding you through what you're seeing, right? You have that scene, and it's fairly early on, where you see the kid in the woods, and you have no type of understanding. Okay, there's a kid in the woods in one of those jumping things, right? And then all of a
Oh
sudden,
Jesus,
the
yes.
the camera the camera pans away, like, I don't know, 10 feet away from the kid, and then you just see this painter, this lady who's painting in the middle. I'm talking about the dead middle of the woods. I'm talking about Blair
Yeah.
Witch type of woods. It's like, why are you painting that far in the woods where you're literally on another planet, basically?
Yeah, I
That's
mean,
number
she was
one.
pretty far away from her kid that was
Exact,
bouncing
exactly. And
around in its little bouncy seat.
yeah, and number two, why'd you bring your kid there? Like, there's nothing
Yeah.
there's nothing there for that kid to do. So the kid is bouncing
Right.
around, and then of course, and I will give the movie a little bit of credit for this, because it was such it's a horrific thing to see, because obviously killing the
That was
mother
probably the best part of
means,
the movie,
well,
this
that's
scene.
what I'm
Yeah.
saying, is that it was a horrific scene, because you realize that, hey, if the mother is going to be killed, that baby is going to be fending for itself with this psychopathic killer. Um,
Yeah.
the death scene itself was kind of like, it was all right, but just thinking about the baby and what's going to happen with the baby, that was kind of a horrific thing. So I'll give it a little bit of credit with that. Um,
Yeah.
but the kill wasn't. God, man, this thing was, and we've done.
Yeah.
I believe this is our 18th episode of Slasher Movie Club, which, by the way, congratulations. That's awesome.
Yeah.
Um,
Same to you.
and we've done a lot of different slashers, from different years. I mean,
Yeah.
we've really looked at I think, a pretty good variety. This movie, it doesn't stack up to
It's
any
like the
of them.
worst.
It
Yeah.
And there's so many reasons, but it really made me appreciate other slasher movies, especially, ones that do take place in the woods or in natural surroundings, like, Just Before
Just
Dawn,
before dawn.
um,
Right.
Friday the 13th, and even, sound design. You know what I'm saying? And we'll talk a
Yeah.
little bit about how this had some huge sound issues. But even for movies like Just Before Dawn or Sleepaway Camp or Friday the 13th, any of these types of movies, and some of them are considered cheesy, but they're done with at least a level of respectable craftsmanship. You get what I'm saying?
Yes.
Whereas this
Yeah.
movie, it's just like,
It has
it's like,
nothing. It doesn't bring anything, enjoyable or anything that would want to make you sit through and continue to watch it. I mean,
Yeah, that's
it
true.
was that bad. It was that bad.
That's true. Slasher Fred was saying, speaking of Porky's, this holiday season you should review Black Christmas. We might
Yeah.
do that, and we do have some ideas for the holiday season. And by the way, to also say, we do have our Patreon set up finally. So for any of you guys, and I know Slasher Fred has had quite a few good ideas for movies, but we are going to be taking, because we've had so many suggestions outside of the three of us on the channel, and we obviously have our own ideas that's taking us literally into next year, the first quarter of next year. But we will be taking requests, so definitely check out the Patreon page. We're going to have a way that you guys can do that if you choose to help support the channel and so forth, and we're going to try to make that kind of a thing, because there's so many people that do want to do reviews or have us do reviews, and we want to make sure that we have it kind of done in a fair way, because we can't do everyone's reviews plus the reviews that we want to do. So just to let you guys know about that. Um,
Yeah.
Eric was saying, let's not forget the horrible ADR that happens through the entire film. It's true, man. It's true. I want to go to that scene in the van, okay? And I think you remember this pretty well, Coriander. You've got the two newlyweds, because of course it says just married on the side of the van, but
Yeah.
they're in this thing, and they're hanging out and all that type of stuff. And my God, man, the sound is just horrible. I mean, it's literally like
Yep.
they're yelling at each other. It just didn't work at all. The acting, the dialogue, as far as what they were saying. What were you thinking in this scene? There is a kill that happens, but what were you thinking in this scene?
Yeah, it was terrible, you know?
Hmm. Yeah.
And yeah, it was great when it was over.
Well, here's the thing. The dialogue is bad, and it's just taking me out of the movie, right? And then all of a sudden they're in this van, and again, I look, obviously you have to have a suspension of disbelief in a lot of these movies, but this van, it has some weight to it, right? All of a
Mhm.
sudden you see the van moving back and forth, and the guy had gotten out of the van, and he's looking to see who's making noises outside of the van. So, and of course he gets killed, and then the girl is left inside of it, and all of a sudden the van is being rocked back and forth, and then all of a sudden it goes down the hill,
Yeah.
and the girl, Cherry, she's still inside of the van. Number one, that thing was tumbling around pretty damn bad, but she was
Yeah, it
still,
was.
not only was she alive, but she sounded alive and well. So again, getting back to that horrible sound design, right? And then she's screaming because the van catches on fire, but it makes absolutely no sense the way that she's screaming. And again, we'll talk about the dubbing on this movie, but it just takes you out of it so many times. It's not even funny. It really, really does.
Yeah.
Um,
Mhm.
Patrick says, which is more fun, this movie or Halloween Resurrection? Patrick, I think you know the answer to.
Resurrection.
Oh, absolutely. And Patrick, by the way, have you seen this movie? That's what I'm wondering. Have you seen this movie? I know Eric has, but I'm wondering if you have. Uh, Eric saying, Patrick, I can have fun laughing at a lot of Resurrection, even if it put Coriander to sleep. This is just rough to pay attention to. It's not just bad, it's also boring. That
Yeah.
is so true. Uh,
Yes.
Flamethrower in the chat saying, I think that
I
lady
mean, it's
looks like
rough
Pee Wee
talking
Herman.
about it.
It
Yeah.
is. It is. Saying the lady looks like Pee Wee Herman with long hair. Yeah,
Hey, I like Pee Wee, damn it. No.
right. But let's get to some of this other stuff. You also had that scene
Ah,
with the two campers in the sleeping bag. Now, a
yeah.
sleeping bag kill, being that we're Friday the 13th fans, I can
Right.
appreciate a sleeping bag kill, especially if it's done halfway decent. This one,
Yeah, man.
again, it made no sense. You remember what I was saying to you? I was like, wait a minute, how is this happening? What's going on? Because I couldn't even tell how it was happening. They were both being killed. They were in separate sleeping bags. One was strung up and being
Yeah.
basically beaten to death. It it
Kinda.
was just
Yeah.
bad, man. And
It was.
they were just characters. Like this movie just had characters that just showed up with absolutely no introduction, sometimes not even a lot of dialogue, if at all. and they were just being killed. And it's like,
Yeah.
God.
It was bad.
Ah! It was rough, man. It was rough. Patrick saying that he has not seen it. Okay, you are lucky, my
You've
friend. You
been
are lucky.
blessed.
Yeah. As we
Oh
get to the
no.
end, as we get to
Yes,
the end,
please.
they start getting picked off, and we've got Ingrid and Joni, who's here in the sleeping bag, left, and
Yeah.
also Peter. Now, all I can say is this: there were a couple moments where I was like, okay, let's make this thing happen. And you basically have Ingrid and Peter who make it to town. They're running forever and they make it to town. They see a ski lift that leads them to basically a small town. And then that's when this movie really got weird, because then you have the police who are searching for this killer. And that's when you were talking about the sheriff, who, I mean, he just did. I mean, it wasn't the worst acting I've ever seen, but he just didn't have anything to him. And it just didn't
Yeah.
really make sense, because you've got the police and you've got some volunteers who are basically scouring the woods trying to find this killer and any possible survivors. And it just didn't make any sense. It was drawn out. It was boring. They were playing that goofy ass music every time they were trying to have something funny happen, like that circus
And
theme.
that music, every time it played, it just fucking pissed you off. So it's like,
Yeah,
oh my God, man.
it
This
was
had
worse
this
than.
torture at the end.
Yeah,
This was
and then
like, do you remember
go
like
ahead.
when Loki was like stuck in like one of his worst memories, right? Or whatever in the show? This would like be my fucking Loki moment. This goddamn movie. It was
That's
terrible.
funny. And also, you've got this guy in a wheelchair, and he's like
Yeah.
going uphill
Oh, man.
again in the middle of nowhere. These woods are like 80,000 miles deep, and he's in the middle of it in a wheelchair trying to go uphill. It's like, first of all, guy, why are you in the
Oh
woods in a
man.
wheelchair? Why are you alone?
Yeah.
What the fuck are you
I could
doing,
see
man?
if he was like, if he did this every day and he had the upper part to get himself through it, but this poor guy was struggling. So it's like,
Yeah,
what
man.
who put this idea in your head to go hike up a fucking mountain? I
Yeah,
mean,
alone.
right.
Alone. It's like, what are you
Ridiculous.
doing? But
Right.
anyways, they get to town. The cops, are trying to find the survivors, but they left Joni. So you got your man who he basically felt guilty, and he's like, well, I've got to go back. You know what I'm saying? And it's like, first of all, guy, why go back alone? You know what I'm saying? That's
Mhm.
number one. But number two, there's a psycho out there, right? Why would you not bring a weapon? Why? I
Right.
mean, now granted, you might say, well, where was he going to get one? That might be true, but it was just stupid for him to run back into the woods. He sees that Joni gets killed because she had stumbled upon the maniac's cabin. And
Yep.
when he came to the cabin and she was still in there, I mean, I get it. She was scared. She had been running through the woods for a lot at this point, but she basically just kind of gave up and let him kill her. And I'm just like, come on, girl, you got to put up a little bit of a fight. She just kind of put her hand up and, don't kill me.
Yeah, she did
And it's just
nothing.
like, oh my
Yeah.
God,
You
man. It
deserved
was,
it.
it was bad, man. It was really bad. But
Yeah.
long story short, by the time everything else happens, uh, Ingrid is also brought back to the woods, because once they made it to town, they found a hospital and they were being cared for. But for whatever reason, the search party and the cops decided to bring Ingrid out there so she could hopefully talk Peter out of doing whatever he was going to try to do, which was he was trying to find Joni. That was
Mhm.
stupid too. It's like, why would they bring her out there? Because she was a little injured from her encounter with the maniac.
Yeah.
But then you have that sequence where they're basically a showdown with the maniac, and they overtake him and they kill him, right? And they keep stabbing him. Look, I in the movie I get it. They wanted revenge because the maniac killed their other two friends. They stabbed this guy at least 100 times. It didn't look convincing, as far as
Mhm.
just the effect, the body that was
Yeah.
there and the blood and everything. And it was just kind of like, it was just kind of stupid. You'd already killed him. I mean, worst case scenario, stab him a couple times and behead him. But it just didn't work. You know what I'm saying? It just didn't work.
Mhm.
It didn't do anything for me, man. What did you think about the ending and when they just kept stabbing this freaking guy?
It was ridiculous. I
Yeah,
mean, I just, yeah, I don't even want to say much about anything because this is so bad that,
yeah,
you just keep going. You're doing
yeah.
great.
Oh, come on, man. Eric says, all jokes aside, it's not the worst horror movie I've ever seen. At least they tried in this one. It's not like Creepshow 3. Yeah, no, I mean, look, here's the bottom line. They were trying to do something, that there's obviously they were trying to have some type of a story. They were trying to use the scenery as the backdrop for this movie, so they were trying, so I'll give them that much credit. I just think a couple of decisions really synced this for me: the music that they used, the dubbing, and the dialogue with the characters. They just didn't give any type of depth to these characters, so I didn't really care about them. Of all the final girls we've seen in this series of movies that we've done, Ingrid had to have been the worst because there was really nothing to
Yeah.
her.
Yep.
Eric saying, circus music reminded me of Halloween 5 and the cops with their bells and whistle noises. Yep, 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 yep. Eric saying maybe the wheelchair guy was the one who wasn't supposed to go into the woods alone. Yeah, right. Flamethrower saying I didn't like the guy in the wheelchair. He didn't even do raspberries like Franklin in Texas Chainsaw Massacre. Right?
Right?
Fred saying the wheelchair guy reminds me of the character from Friday the 13th Part 2. Yeah, yeah, but nowhere near as good of a kill, nowhere near as good of a
Yeah.
setup. And
Yeah.
again, when you think
Like I
about the
believe
Friday,
him out, that guy in part two going out in his wheelchair doing this hike. But the
yes,
guy that they had doing it, it's like, come on, what the fuck is this dude doing?
yeah. And like I said, this makes those movies of its ilk, like Friday the 13th or any of the Friday the 13th, look so
Oscar
masterful
worthy,
and
right?
but just done in a good way, as far as the way it's filmed. Even the dialogue, even if it's cheesy dialogue in some of the Friday the 13th movies, at least you're getting some character um, depth. You're getting some understanding of these characters, and you can identify with them in some way, shape, or form. Let's get to a
Hmm.
couple of fun facts as we finish this up. And there actually were quite a few for this movie. Number one, the talented maniac.
Yeah, the guy who played him, he worked as a singer, and one of his songs can be heard playing in the deputy's car early in the film.
Wow. And that's something that's Tom Drury who played the Maniac.
Yeah,
That's crazy. You never know what to
yeah,
expect. Our
right.
second one, that good old dub.
Yeah, the entire movie was dubbed after being shot. The voice of actor Frank Millen was dubbed by director James Bryan.
Wow.
Yeah,
Unbelievable.
yeah.
Okay. The sauce.
The fake blood used in the film is a mixture of red food coloring and barbecue sauce.
Yeah, and it didn't
Yeah.
look it didn't
Boo.
look good. It
Yeah, it
really
was
didn't look good.
terrible.
I
Yeah.
mean, I've seen
I,
bad
I
fake
bet
blood,
those
but this was
people,
really
yeah.
bad.
And you know how bad, food coloring stains your skin. So I can
Yeah.
just imagine how stained some of these
Yep.
people were.
Our
Oh.
fourth fact, Joni's death.
James Bryan edited down Joni's bloody death scene because he felt the scene got too disturbingly violent for the film's tongue in cheek tone.
Ugh, man.
That probably
They
would
should
have
have.
made it interesting.
It probably would have. I mean, it wasn't. It
Yeah.
wasn't a horrible death, but again, just not enough setup for her as a character for me to really get invested. Number one, and also the way that she died, she just kind of stood there. It's like at least make it
Yeah.
interesting. You know what I'm saying? Like when
Yeah.
he was hacking at her before he actually slashed her. Make her try to run away or something. She just kind of stood there. It's like, come on, man.
Yeah.
Our
Yeah.
next one, the cameraman cameo.
The film's cameraman, Henry Zinman, plays the fisherman that Peter sees killed at the river.
Hmm. All right. And
Yeah.
we've got two more here. Next one, the director who doubles.
Yeah. So James Bryan doubled as the maniac in many of the shots.
Wow, that's that's just crazy. I mean, hey, you do what you got to do to get a movie made.
Right.
I just wish they put more time into some of the little things. It's always in the details. You know what I'm saying? As far as
Mhm.
music, dialogue, and also characterization. You know how these characters are portrayed. It really, really is.
Yep.
Our last one here, the original title.
Was Sierra, as the story was supposed to be set in the Sierra Mountains.
All right. Very, very cool. And that wouldn't have been horrible. Matter of fact, that might even
Yeah.
be better. You
Yeah,
know, like a
maybe.
lot of,
It wouldn't have
a
made the
lot of.
movie better, but
Well,
yeah.
no, 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 no. But I'm just saying
No.
the even the title
No.
of this movie is just really, really crappy, man. But you know,
I
at
know.
the end, after they do the killing, they kill the maniac, and then they're just kind of hugging, and the cop sees them, and they just kind of, and then it just kind of pan away, and then you do find out what happens with the baby. The baby was in this like makeshift carriage that the maniac had been carrying at one point, and you just see the baby sitting there in the middle of God knows where with the hatchet in his
Oh
hand,
shit.
just kind of playing with it.
I completely
Um,
missed that friggin' part. Huh.
yeah, yeah. So that's at the very end. So it's kind
Wow.
of like you don't know what the fate of this baby is. I don't know if they were trying to say, hey, this baby might
He's
live
gonna
in
be
the
the kick. Yeah,
yeah,
he'll be the
he'll
next
turn
one.
into a crazy mountain man too or not, or you almost got to think though maybe he would be found because they were still searching the area for bodies. But anyways, this
With
movie,
that crowd of goons out looking for those people, probably not.
yeah, right, yeah, they were just god damn those cops. Yeah,
Oh shit.
and we just talked about a few episodes ago. We talked about Night School, and I was talking about how the two cops in that movie were some of my favorite cops in a slasher movie because they had
Yep.
character, right? They had
Yeah.
character, and their dialogue with each other was funny. It kind of kept the story moving, and you actually felt like, wow, these two guys are partners. You kind of you could believe that they were cops. In this
Mhm.
movie, you just didn't believe anything with the rescue party, the cops, or anything. It was
It
bad.
was bad.
we
Yes.
we have reached a new low. We've gone
Yes.
beyond dark territory. Just to put
Yeah,
that out
man.
there. I
Yeah.
mean,
It's
if
almost like
if
in the scene from Sleepaway Camp 2 when, we're getting shoved in the shitter.
jeez. Well, I suppose if you're watching this with a group of friends, right, and you're just gonna make fun of it, or if you're having a drink or something to tide you over, maybe then you could enjoy it because
I don't know.
it
I
does
don't
have
know.
moments where you'd laugh out loud, like that van moment. There were moments where I found myself kind of chuckling because of how bad it was. So I suppose that could be
I'll
the
skip that
way.
party. Yeah.
Well, I would too, but I'm just saying there are some people that love watching horribly bad movies and they
I'm
watch
not
them
one of them.
just to make fun of them. So I just wanted to
Yeah.
make sure I threw that out there. But anyways,
Definitely.
guys, that's about all we've got for "Don't Go in the Woods." Dot
Whew.
dot dot alone.
Thank God it's
Um,
over.
ne- next week we are looking for our one, well, not our last episode, but we're doing these movies in the slasher movie club in segments as far as using the teenage slasher movie handbook. And we had our original um, first group was like, I don't know, 7 or 8 movies, and
Yeah.
this group of movies was maybe about
7.
7 or 8 movies. So this is the
Yeah.
last one in this group, and it looks like we'll be talking about Dark Knight of the Scarecrow from 1981, and it is available on Roku for free.
Yeah.
So just to let you guys know, if you would like to take a look at it, and next week when we talk about it, you'll know what's going on, and you can hopefully join us in the discussion. That's what we're always hoping for with our episodes here. Real quick in the chat before we head on out, let's see. Eric was saying, it's a group of friends, beer and pizza movie, nothing else. Don't spend money on it. Yeah, exactly. Eric saying, "We felt your pain on the podcast, guys. Trust me." Well, here's one thing about it too, Eric, and I know Eric knows this because they obviously talked about this movie too and other movies that sometimes don't hit for them. But talking about movies that aren't necessarily good, my hope for it, and I was talking to Coriander about this before we went live, is to at least talk about, why. Why wasn't it that good, at least in my opinion, or obviously in Coriander's opinion or Kill's opinion. But if there are things about it that were good, or if there were ways to make it better, that's what I kind of find interesting with these bad movies. And sometimes you can make some nice comparisons to a movie that's similar that did it better or did it right. Like with Just Before Dawn, I think they did a heck of a job having a very similar setting, but their characters were very good. Their sound design was very good. The instrumental music was not grating like this movie, and the kills were pretty damn effective.
Yeah.
And you had one of the best final girls I've ever seen in a slasher film. So, yeah, there's that. Patrick was saying, can the cheetah and I sit in next week? Oh, yeah, we could probably set that up, Patrick. Yeah, I'll get in touch with you. That's pretty cool. Yeah. He says, I reviewed Dark Knight of the Scarecrow. Oh, that's awesome.
Okay.
All right, man.
I
Yeah,
haven't
you'll be
seen
right
it,
into this. I've never seen it as well. And that's what I love about this series is that we've been able to watch movies that we had either never seen before, or especially for me, maybe I hadn't seen them in well over a decade or 15 years. So it's been fun doing these movies, and hopefully the viewers have been enjoying it too. Eric saying there's still an audience for this movie, even if we don't like it. Everyone is different. I always say one man's trash is another man's treasure. Absolutely. There's no doubt about that. I mean, we've seen it time and time again. There are a lot of people that love Halloween Resurrection, and, it missed the mark for all three of us on the panel. Matter of fact, I've had some people that commented that said that was one of their favorite entries in the Halloween franchise, which totally blows my mind. But hey, everyone's different, and I don't mind hearing other people's opinions. That's what makes it interesting. Sasha's in the chat saying hi again.
Hello.
What's going on? Nice to see you, man. Nice to see you.
Yeah, it's been a while.
Welcome. Yeah. Patrick saying it's awesome. Talking about Dark Knight of the Scarecrow. Okay. Well, now I'm a little excited.
Well, exactly, right?
Yeah, absolutely. Okay, guys. Well, that's all we got for this one. We hope you enjoyed it. Please give the video a like. That would help support the channel. We'd really appreciate it. And also, just as importantly, and I know I say this a lot, and it's up to you guys, but if you could leave a comment in the comment section, that would also help support the video, because YouTube nowadays, liking the video is a part of it, but also having some type of comments going back and forth is what really helps to promote videos on YouTube. So that would help support us a lot as well. And last comment, Eric was saying, what's better, Night, this or the Jason Worms? Eric, I think you know the answer to that question, because as much as Jason Goes to Hell was not my favorite in the franchise, it wasn't my worst either. I still can watch it, and I still love the Friday the 13th franchise for all of its good and bad. So there you go. We always get back to Jason Goes to Hell. Anyways, guys, we will catch you guys later. Thanks for hanging out with us. If you're watching this, if you're listening to this, you're the Night Watch. Peace out.
Chich.